How many sales operations people do you need in a company?
Welcome back to Sales Operations for Small Businesses.
Because in a large company, you can have a whole team where there's like 20 people in it. And in a small company, there are teams who they only have maybe 20 people total, and they choose to get a sales operations people in from early. And there's no true ratio. The ones that I have seen online are ones where, quite frankly, they're companies that I wouldn't want to work in because they're on the lines of, oh yeah, for every 12 salespeople, not people in general, for every 12 salespeople, one sales ops person. No. No, I think what they mean is for every 12 people, one CRM manager, not sales ops. CRM management is a part of sales operations, but people get these things confused. In my experience, you need 2 sales operations people. Again, we're talking about small companies here, and there's lots of different variables, but generally, 2 sales operations people for 10 salespeople, so 1 to 5, right? And that is because of the amount of processes that need to be clarified and maintained that the sales manager at that point isn't going to do. Generally speaking, you could happen to have a fantastic sales manager that likes to take up all of that stuff into themselves. But by that point in time, if they've got 5 salespeople, they're going to be the supportive executive sponsor or executive salesperson at those really big deals, because you're going to have people working to different levels of opportunity size, deal size, right? But there's so much stuff that needs doing. The structure that connects sales to the rest of the business doesn't just exist on its own. In a lot of small companies, there's just a process that people understand, but it's not written anywhere. You have to learn it by word of mouth. And it means that when somebody gets sick or somebody decides to leave, that happened to be the person who was doing all of that in between stuff, things go wrong. I know of a company at the moment who they've merged, or they bought a smaller company and merged those people in it. And there is thousands and thousands of pounds just not being invoiced, just missing. So the person that I know is having to keep their own record of stuff and has to make sure they follow it down the whole line. They're an account manager, account director, following it down the whole line, because there's just no one in place to make sure that the natural process of bringing the money all the way through the sales funnel is happening. The process just doesn't exist, which means it was people that were doing it before. And if those people are still working on the stuff that they were working on before, they haven't been told or are actively choosing to not take on this extra work. Because why? And that's all because a process doesn't exist. And the tools which I frequently say aren't the main things, but that's when they're supposed to be relied upon. They're tools to support the people and processes. If there's people, process, and technology, the technology supports the people and processes. You don't change processes or try to change people to work for the technology that you happen to have. The technology is supposed to support us and those processes. So if those processes don't exist because they're just in the ether, then things will go missing. And it does happen. You'd be surprised, but it does. You know the amount of times where you've gone on holiday and somebody's ended up having to call you because they didn't know how to do something. If you don't write stuff down, if people aren't clear what the whole process is, then it's so risk heavy. And in a small business, you can't afford to be just losing thousands. So the business that I was talking about, that's a large business. They probably won't realize that they're losing money until the end of the year. But in a small business, that's people's salaries. That goes directly to people's mortgage payments. You can't afford to have that missing. Things need to be written down, and it might seem a little bit boring and stick in the mud because generally speaking, business owners are a little bit more flamboyant, extroverted. They end up having to be the main salespeople. So thinking about, all of that side of things isn't exciting, but it's necessary. It's the foundation of your house. And if the foundation isn't secure, you're going to have trouble when there's weather. right? So for me, the general ratio would be one sales ops person to every 5 salespeople. I would include development representatives, so like the baby salespeople, but generally speaking, you don't have those in small businesses. But yeah, it's because there is that much to be done, and you keep thinking that there isn't, but there's so much. I think I'm going to have to do an episode just going through the different kinds of projects that can be done, because it just feels like, again, everything is just, oh, you take the information out of the CRM and you just do reports, and it's just all about that, and you just connect this to that and this, that, and the other. That's a part of it. That is one part of it. The rest of it is project work. If you're doing it properly, if you're trying to build a business, if you want to really, really show your value, and this is skills that build up for you. Because trust me, if you're in an organization, if you've been hired into an organization and you're doing all this work and you're not being recognized, leave. I'm not expecting people to recognize it immediately, but if you're keeping all of your notes, you're showing the benefits, and they still want to sort of treat you as general admin, even though there's nothing wrong with general admin, but you know what I mean. Like, we could just replace you tomorrow. Leave, because trust me, you will get more money by going to another organization than you will staying at a place that is actively trying to beat you down or keep you down. So that's my view on the general ratio of sales operations people to sales. Please let me know what your ratio would be. Like I said, there's a lot of ratios online which seem to be advocating for burnout immediately. And that's not what I'm about. So I'd love to have this conversation. Let me know wherever you're watching this or listening to this, put in the comments that you can see, and I will reply. And I look forward to talking with you soon.